Chapter 23. Calculated Risk. The training ground, now quiet, echoed the day's efforts as he gathered his belongings. He could feel the day's fatigue settling into his muscles, each step a reminder of the rigorous workout he had pushed through. His clothes were soaked with sweat, clinging uncomfortably to his skin. With a deep breath, he headed towards his dorm room, anticipating the relief the water would bring. The shower in his dorm room was a small but functional space, designed to serve the needs of students. The sound of water hitting the tiled floor echoed softly, blending with the occasional distant murmur from the hallways. Kaizen turned the knob to cold, closing his eyes as the chilly water cascaded over him. The cold shock was invigorating, helping to soothe his sore muscles and clear his mind. He stood under the spray, allowing the water to wash away the grime and tension of the day. As the chill set in, he felt his body gradually adjusting, the cold water serving as a natural muscle relaxant. Kaizen always preferred cold showers for their numerous benefits, which aligned well with his rigorous training regimen and disciplined lifestyle. Cold showers helped reduce muscle inflammation and soreness, crucial for someone who pushed his body to its limits daily. The cold water constricted blood vessels and increased circulation, promoting faster recovery and reducing the risk of injuries. Moreover, cold showers enhanced his mental toughness. The initial shock of the cold water required resilience and fortitude, qualities Kaizen valued highly. It also sharpened his focus and kept him alert, traits that were indispensable in both training and combat scenarios. Kaizen also appreciated the boost in his immune system. Cold showers were known to stimulate the production of white blood cells, which helped fend off illnesses. In a world where Shinobi often faced harsh conditions and relentless missions, he felt staying healthy and resilient would be paramount. Although he was unsure as to whether it would be as helpful in this world as it was in his previous one due to the influences of chakra. Feeling refreshed and rejuvenated, Kaizen dried off and changed into clean clothes. The sun had set by now, casting a gentle, golden hue over the academy grounds as he made his way to the cafeteria for dinner. The academy grounds were quiet at this hour, with most students either winding down for the evening or catching up on studies. The stillness was only occasionally broken by the distant sounds of laughter or the soft rustle of leaves in the gentle evening breeze. The cafeteria was brightly lit, a welcoming contrast to the dimming twilight outside. Students were scattered throughout, some in small groups animatedly discussing the day's events, others eating quietly on their own. The atmosphere was a blend of light-hearted chatter and the comforting clink of cutlery against plates. Kaizen approached the food counters, his stomach growling in anticipation. His training and muscle recovery had increased his appetite significantly. He filled his tray with 3 times the amount of food he would normally eat, mindful to select a nutritious meal. He started with lean proteins, piling on grilled chicken breasts and fillets of fish. Next came the complex carbohydrates, a generous serving of brown rice and several sweet potatoes. He rounded off his meal with a variety of vegetables, adding steamed broccoli and a colorful mix of greens to his tray. As he carried his laden tray to an empty table, Kaizen couldn't help but think about how his body's nutritional needs had evolved. He theorized that although intense training plays a role, it is mainly the application of the rapid muscle recovery chakra technique, causing him to require a significantly higher intake of nutrients. It would make sense as that technique is the reason why he can now train for much longer than he ever did in his previous life. As he began to eat, Kaizen's thoughts drifted to his past and present lives. The contrast between the two was stark, almost jarring. Kaizen chuckled to himself thinking about his abilities then and now, realizing that through the utilization of chakra to enhance his muscles, he was already stronger than he had ever been in his past life. The thought was both empowering and amusing. In his previous world, achieving such strength would have been beyond the pinnacle of human capability, but here, it was just the beginning. He picked up a piece of grilled chicken from his plate, savoring the smoky aroma before taking a bite. The flavors burst in his mouth, a perfect blend of seasoning. As he chewed, his thoughts wandered back to his training. The sensation of chakra flowing through his muscles, enhancing every movement, still fascinated him. He considered how abnormally talented he seemed to be with chakra control. The books he had read described years of rigorous training required to achieve the level of proficiency he had already attained. Yet here he was, performing advanced techniques with a seemingly natural ease that felt almost instinctual. Kaizen thought about the characters from the Naruto series, their struggles, and their paths to mastering chakra. He realized that his progress seemed to defy the usual trajectory. This anomaly piqued his curiosity, urging his desire to explore further. Another aspect he couldn't help but wonder about was the state of his chakra reserves. He had read that chakra was composed of physical and spiritual energy. For a child of his age, his physical energy should still be developing and limited by his young body. However, the extensive chakra usage he had experienced without significant fatigue suggested that he possessed a considerable amount of chakra. This discrepancy puzzled him. Comparing his abilities to those depicted in the Naruto series, Kaizen realized that he had an unusually large chakra reserve for someone his age. This realization led him to speculate on the possible reasons behind it. Was it his soul transferring over from another world? Did his mental discipline and the years of intense training and experience he remembered play a role? Kaizen pondered this as he ate, the flavors of his meal contrasting with the complexity of his thoughts. If his spiritual energy was indeed heightened due to his past life, it would also explain why he could manipulate chakra with such proficiency. He realized he needed a frame of reference to understand his abilities better within this world. Comparing himself to characters from the Naruto series gave him an idea, but he needed to gauge his chakra against other students in Shinobi. Only then could he truly understand the extent of his reserves and control. Perhaps soon it would be time to discover what chakra natures he had an affinity with. The idea excited him. Understanding his elemental affinities could open new avenues for his training, allowing him to refine his techniques even further. He imagined the possibilities wielding fire, water, earth, wind, or lightning with the same ease he had learned about chakra control. Then of course he thought about yin release, yang release, yin-yang release, as well as the numerous kekkei genkai, kekkei tota, and kekkei mora possibilities. Kaizen highly doubted he had any special bloodlines or abilities contributed by his genetics. Although anything is possible, his awakening within an orphanage with no surname made the idea seem rather improbable. However, he did speculate that the advanced releases could be learned, albeit incredibly difficult, and in most cases, probably not worth the time investment. Understanding that he was a long way away from any of those experiments, he went back to thinking about his circumstances. Kaizen's mind wandered to the early years from his last life, a time when he was being molded into a cold, emotionless weapon. The organization that raised him only had one goal: to create the perfect assassin. They succeeded. He remembered the grueling training sessions that began before dawn and ended well past dusk. Every aspect of his upbringing was designed to strip away his humanity and replace it with unfeeling efficiency. His training was solitary. He learned to depend on himself, trust only his instincts, and rely on no one else. The organization kept him isolated, ensuring that he had no attachments or distractions. Day after day he honed his skills, each session designed to push him to his limits and beyond. The rigorous physical and mental conditioning left no room for personal growth or happiness. As he grew older, his skills approached their peak. At that point he was exclusively assigned to high-profile or especially difficult missions, each one more dangerous than the last. He became known for his ruthlessness, a ghost who could infiltrate any location and eliminate any target. It was during this period of his life that he began to see through the organization's facade. Awareness continued to grow within him over the course of his experiences. He started to recognize the extent of his brainwashing. The missions, the relentless training, the lack of any personal life, all of it was designed to keep him under the organization's control. As he became more skilled, he also became more self-aware, a change that did not go unnoticed by his superiors. Kaizen's growing awareness led to a resurgence of his lost emotions. He started to think independently, questioning his orders as well as his ideology. This shift in his personality made him more dangerous in the eyes of the organization. He was no longer the unfeeling weapon they had created, but a man who could think and feel for himself. He couldn't help but wonder if his last mission was orchestrated by the organization to eliminate him. Had they feared losing control over their most valuable asset? The mission had seemed straightforward, but something about it felt off. In hindsight, he suspected foul play, a final attempt by the organization to dispose of him before he became a threat to their power. Because of his demise, he never really had the chance to determine goals for himself outside of continuous self-improvement. The way he was raised had a side effect of making him an avid learner. One of his few enjoyments came from researching and learning different information, skills, and abilities. The problem is that it couldn't really be considered as a true goal or purpose in his life, though, more of a hobby. he never had the chance to truly define a purpose for himself. Now, in this new life, Kaizen saw an opportunity for something different. He had the mind to choose his own path, free from the manipulations of others. For the first time, he felt he could decide what he wanted to do, who he wanted to be. This realization filled him with a sense of freedom he had never experienced before. The world of Shinobi offered countless opportunities for growth. In this world, he could achieve levels of strength he had never previously considered. Especially with him being in Konoha, Kaizen knew he had countless ways of getting stronger while securing his future. His first and perhaps largest bet was on his showcasing of talent. Kaizen was well aware of people like Danzo and his methods, but Kaizen gambled on the idea that through the utilization of his previous life experiences, he could establish himself as extremely well known among higher-ups and major figures. On one hand, if he succeeded, he could have access to incredible benefits without needing to hide his progress. On the other hand, if he failed, then he considered Root to essentially be no different than the organization from his previous life. Except this time, he would have entered it with a developed mind. It wasn't a flawless plan, but his previous experiences as well as the potential upsides were too much for him to ignore. In short, it was a calculated risk based on a series of risks vs rewards weighed in his head. This world will always be an unpredictable one without guarantees. Kaizen knew he would have to get used to the idea of not always knowing what to expect. The best he can do is prepare for the worst-case scenarios and adapt as each situation unfolds. Considering how different this world already is from the one he read, Kaizen knows that he cannot solely rely on his previous knowledge. Using it as a reference point would be the safest bet. Taking everything I know into account, I can't say that I can think of any purpose for this new life of mine. There isn't anything in particular I want to do right now other than increase my strength, survivability, and knowledge. I suppose it will be best for me to keep an open mind and see how the future unfolds. If possible, I would like to experience genuine happiness in this life.